we're back. Take one. You've heard it a million times from tons of influencers on LinkedIn and Instagram telling you, you've got to build your personal brand. You've got to build your personal brand. And you get it. You've heard it so many times, countless times, it's haunting you in your sleep basically at this point, but you still haven't done anything about it. Now, at this point, you know you should build a personal brand and you kind of feel guilty for not having done it yet. And I don't blame you because it's intimidating. You feel like you got to start a podcast or a blog, and before you know it, you're up at 3 a.m. going through the 12th article you read about comparing Squarespace versus WordPress for starting a blog. And at this point, you're starting to lose motivation and you just think that personal branding, this personal brand life is not for you. In this video, we're going to cut the fluff. I'll give you the 4 C's of building a personal brand online without starting a blog or a podcast. We'll go through curation, capture, creation, and community and get you on your way to building a great reputation online. First, let's roll the intro. By the end of the week, you might have a validated business model you can dive into. It's never been easier to start a business. C number 1, curation. Think of curation as a public mood board that you're building. With personal brand, the first tenet is that people need to know what you're interested in, what you care about, and what you want to learn more about. With curation, anytime you come across an interesting article or a piece on a blog or someone you look up to, share that on any social media you're on, whether it's LinkedIn, Twitter, Instagram, just put it out there. But it's not enough to just link out the article or link out the blog post or the podcast. Take a moment and write a couple of lines about how you interpreted it. What were your opinions and thoughts on it? Did you agree with it? Did you disagree with it? Did it teach you something? By adding this bit of narration to the article that you read and you're sharing, you're giving someone else a talking point, something they can reach out to you on and say like, hey, I didn't see that in the article. What's cool about personal branding and just learning in general is that I read something completely different from how you read it. The way I interpret a blog post might be different from how you interpret it. We might have picked out different things might have stood out to me than what stood out to you. And by sharing those couple of lines in that commentary before you actually just post it and call it a day, you're giving someone else a talking point for them to get to know you better and for you to start building a relationship with them. So curation is our first C. After you get comfortable with curating on a regular basis and sharing different articles that pique your interest, we're going to go into the second C, which is capture. Now, this is where you start sharing your story, but don't worry, no big blog posts or intimidating pieces of content like this. You don't need to get in front of a camera. But what I do ask of you in this step, and what's going to help you build your personal brand, is sharing the work that you're doing on a regular basis. Now, in the world of startups and entrepreneurs, there's a school of thought called build in public, which essentially encourages founders and their teams to start sharing the daily trials and tribulations of building a startup, the failures, the wins, and the progress they're making overall. Doing this helps build loyalty and a following with your prospective customers or with just fans. When you start sharing your work, people can tune in and see how you've grown over months and years. And it's exciting for you to also look back once you've hit your stride and see how far you've come. Treat capture, the second C, as a public diary. Treat social media, treat Twitter, LinkedIn, Instagram, whatever medium you're comfortable with as a public diary of your progress and your learnings. But of course, don't share anything here that you don't want to come back to you. Only share the wins and the losses of the progress that you're making. However much or however little you share is up to you and what you're comfortable with. The one note that I've mentioned before, and I'll say it again, is that imagine if Jeff Bezos or Steve Jobs were vlogging their first days of building Amazon or Apple. Imagine how much fun it would be to look back on where they were on day 1 and where they were on day 100 versus where they were on the IPO day. Treat the capture stage like you're vlogging your journey on your way to building a $1 billion company or a $1 billion IPO. Be your own documentary crew. Sharing your thoughts and opinions and stories in public is how you attract a community. And we'll touch on that in just a bit. But next up is our third C, which is creation. Now that you've gotten comfortable with sharing your story on a regular basis and giving people an insight into how you operate, how you think, and how you overcome challenges, this is where you start building on top of that by cementing yourself as an expert in what you do. Now look, I can already hear you before you say, I'm not an expert. You are. Everyone is an expert to someone. Even if you spent just 10 hours learning a brand new skill, you are 10 hours more of an expert than someone who just started. If you watched a dozen YouTube tutorials on how to learn Webflow or how to shoot photography or how to interview guests, you are 10 hours ahead of someone who is just searching that for the first time on YouTube. You're an expert to them. Now, you might not be the expert in the entire industry, but you can still teach people. And if you remember anything from school, our teachers always urged us to try and teach someone else. And they were right, because teaching someone else not only cements the knowledge within yourself, but you also make new connections within that content. So don't think of creation as building a crazy huge blog post or doing a video like this. Think of creation as a self-serving way to just cement the knowledge that you already have, to gain more confidence in your competence. With creation too, don't feel the pressure to get in front of a big video camera or set up an elaborate production or even write a 1,000-word blog post. Communicate how you communicate best. If you're a fan of picking up your phone, talking to the story for a little bit, do that. If you prefer writing 200, 500 words, do that. If you prefer to let a picture do all the talking, post a picture with a little bit of a caption and that's it. Communicate how you do the best, because that's how you stay the most authentic, that's how you'll worry the less and attract the people who need your message the most. Now, a note of caution here. Don't pretend to be anything you're not. Don't fake it till you make it. I do not prescribe to this, and I don't recommend that you do either, because faking it till you make it puts you on thin ice. When you try to be someone you're not, you'll get called out or caught onto eventually. And when people feel like you're not being authentic to who you are, they'll trust you less. So if you are just a 10-hour expert, that's completely fine. Be transparent with, I just started learning this new skill and here's what I've learned so far. That's okay. Don't try to be something you're not with creation. Now with the 3C's so far, we've got curation, capture, and creation. All of these 3C's so far are all about you. Now, just because 3/4 of the C's are all about you and you talking, don't forget to focus on the community, our 4th C. Now, this is arguably the most important C out of all of these things, because as the old African proverb says, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together. You cannot build your personal brand without having a community behind you. You need the support of people within your network, you need the support of people in adjacent networks, and you need to hear from people as well. I always tell people that it doesn't matter how good you are at what you do if no one knows that you do it. In the pursuit of sharing content, documenting our journey, we forget that there's other people seated at the table with us. Now, if social media is like a big dinner party, you don't want to be the only person who's yapping away about what you do. It's a disservice to you and it turns the guests off. Imagine the last party that you went to. I'm sure there was some person there that couldn't stop talking about who they were and all the great accomplishments, and it's okay for the first little bit, it attracts people because they're curious what you're talking about, but after a while, you get turned off from this person talking all about themselves. Don't be that person. Mix and mingle, get to know who's at the party, and share and exchange ideas too. When you get to building a community and you listen to others, they inform your content as well. You can hear how they're taking in your content. You can hear what problems they're having and what ideas they might have for how you can improve as well. There also might be the opportunity for you to connect with quiet fans. With content creation, with putting things out there, you never know who's watching. You never know who's listening, which is the beauty of it. Take the time when you're building community to seek out those quiet fans, because they could be your biggest fans too. Community is arguably the most important part of building a personal brand. Your community is your network, and your network helps ideas spread and get to the people who need it the most, and it connects you with the people who you need the most as well. So to recap, the 4 C's start with curation, capture, creation, and community. Again, tell your story, tell it thoughtfully, tell it as you gain confidence, but don't forget that your community is the one that propels you forward. It takes a village to raise a startup. It takes a village to raise an entrepreneur like yourself as well. Now, these 4 steps will help you share your thoughts and expertise. The content you build and distribute become assets that keep working for you. For example, a LinkedIn post about a discovery that you had in your industry can be read by dozens and hundreds and maybe thousands of people around the world. Take that in. A piece of content you write one time can be read over and over and over again and reach people in every corner of the world. That's the power of the 4 C's. It allows you to take the expertise that you've spent years building and allows you to create an engine, a vehicle that takes you and your thoughts and ideas to every part of the globe, to people who need it the most. Now, yes, it's scary to put yourself out there, but the potential downside is low. The downside is that people might not like it or people might not actually engage with it, but the opportunity cost is massive because the potential upside is huge. You can connect with so many people, you can get new jobs, you can skip the interview process, you can connect with new clients and new customers and find your next co-founder for your next big idea. But none of that will happen if you don't press publish. And look, you don't need to get it right away as well. Your brand will evolve, your brand will change. The person you are today when you're starting out, when you just graduated school, when you're just starting a startup, is very different from the person and the brand you'll have when you're 10 years into it. But share that story with people. Let them tag along with you. Let them grow with you. As you gain more expertise, the content you create will change, and the communities you serve will change, and how you serve them will change as well. But you've got to take the first step. And I hope the 4C's gave you the confidence you need to do that. And boom, that wraps up another video from your boy Astawa today. So thank you again so much for tuning in. Google wants to get in the videos. Thank you so much for watching. Again, very appreciative of your time because you could be anywhere else in the world. And I'm glad that you chose to spend this however long 10-minute video with me. Thank you so much for that. If you do want to stay in touch and enjoyed what you heard today, check out astawa.ca for more blogs. And if you want help and advice on building your personal brand, drop it in the comments below. What are you struggling with? Are you afraid of putting yourself out there? Have you tried? What's been working well for you? I want to know. Let me know in the comments below. How are you doing with your personal brand? Are the 4C's working for you? And how else can I help you? Until next time, peace out. I'm not this awkward in person. There's something about just the video. Is it still recording? I'm not this awkward. I'm not. You guys know I'm not.
I'd be happy.
I like it. I have no shortage of equipment. Bro, all I've been drinking for the past, 2-3 months now is pallet coffee. I'm over Starbucks. I'm not buying Starbucks anymore. I'm not buying their beans, anything, because support local, man. It tastes so much better. Pilot tastes so much better than Starbucks. Dude, I have 3 tripods. Try tripods.
Ding, 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 ding.
We're back. Okay, and now we are diving into the 4C's. How did that feel?